What is up, guys? I love Netflix, not only because it has like a really large library of movies, but I feel like every now and then Netflix is gonna just drop a brand new movie. And I just recently saw a movie last night. It was actually pretty good. It's called The Perfect Neighbor. So this movie is about a woman named Susan who is like the most Karen looking woman I've ever seen in my life. And that's essentially what this movie is about. It's about her like acting like a total Karen. Susan lives in a neighborhood and she's like always complaining about the neighbor's kids because these kids are always being loud and obnoxious, and apparently they're always trespassing on her property, which is like mostly not the case. And it's gotten to the point where like she ultimately like shoots someone, and that's not really a spoiler because they already show that at the beginning of the movie. But essentially that's what happened. So she got fed up with like the neighbors, and one day I guess she just snaps and she just ends up shooting one of the neighbors. So the entire movie itself is actually real and raw footage because it's actually all captured from the police officers' body cameras. So there's like multiple officers that always like go to her house because she's always calling and complaining about the neighbors. And because they're all wearing like camera footage on their uniforms, like this entire ordeal was like all captured like on their cameras. So I guess they just took all the footage and just made this into like a real movie. Now, apparently this first started like way back in 2022 when Susan's first started like complaining about her neighbors. And this lasted, I think, until about 2024 because that's when her trial was. Which I didn't even know. I didn't even hear about this case until I just saw this movie. Now, the first 2/3 of the movie, it's pretty much Susan like always calling the cops on her neighbors because she's always complaining about the kids and how loud they are and how they're always like trespassing on her property. And the last portion of the movie is about her ultimately killing one of her neighbors. And the police officers and the detectives, they're just trying to figure out like what happened, and they're questioning her and they're interrogating her. I thought this movie had some creepy moments because there were scenes where the police officers, they would always be called to her house, like even in the middle of the night. And whenever they arrive to her house, it's like really creepy and eerie, and you just never know what she's capable of doing, okay, because she's like this crazy freaking lunatic. And again, this entire ordeal lasted from like 2022 up until 2024. So we're talking about 2 years that Susan has been calling on these neighbors about her children. I thought this was a good documentary, but it's not anything I haven't seen before. It's like the whole neighbor versus neighbor scenario. I don't think this movie was like unique in terms of story because again, it's something we've seen before in other crime documentaries. But what made this movie unique, in my opinion, is that they're trying to figure out if she killed someone in self-defense or if she intentionally killed her neighbor. What made this movie also like really scary was that, at the beginning of the movie, Susan starts off as like an innocent neighbor. And I guess we do kind of sympathize with her too, because I mean, who wants to live with like a bunch of obnoxious kids, as neighbors? So I kind of saw where she was coming from, in terms of like being annoyed with people. But as the movie progressed, you could see like she becomes a lot more sinister, So I guess that's what made this movie really creepy, because like people can start off really nice, but later on you see them for who they really are. Like we never know who our neighbors are. Like we never know what kind of person they are. We never know like what they've done in their lives. Susan, she just went from like an innocent looking lady to like a crazy lunatic. I thought this movie was a great documentary. I enjoyed watching it and just watching like how everything just kind of concluded at the end of the movie. And again, I've never even heard of this trial until this movie came out last night. So I'm really glad Netflix is like dropping all these documentaries about things that are happening around the world, or else we would never hear about them. If you're into crime documentaries, this is the movie for you. The story itself was nothing new, it's not something we haven't heard of or seen before. But in terms of tension, I thought this movie really did great on that part. Thank you guys again for watching this movie review. Until the next movie, peace.